Good evening, everybody. So, I am pre-recording my end of the year content because the holiday season is going to be busy for me. Today is November 17th. This video will be posted on December 31st at 10 a.m. So today I'm going to be, in this video, which is being pre-recorded, I will be talking about my favorite series of 2024. And then in the next video, I will be talking about the top 24 books of 2024. So the first book series I wanted to talk about today is Bright Falls by Ashley Herring Blake. These are female rom-coms that are set in Bright Falls, which is a town in Washington State that is very similar to Stars Hollow on Gilmore Girls, which is what I love about it. My favorite book in this series is Iris Kelly Doesn't Date, which is centered around a local theater production of Shakespeare's play As You Like It. So I like it for that aspect, and the representation of Stevie's anxiety and how she has coping mechanisms to deal with it. And I also wanted to say that I have recently read, and by the time this video is out, I will have read 2 times through her holiday release, Make the Season Bright. And I really enjoy the dynamic between the 2 characters in that book, Charlotte and Brighton. The next series that I wanted to talk about is By the Book. This series is a series of books that are modern retelling. This is one of the series I read that is modern retellings of Disney princess movies. So there are a couple of different books that stand out to me in this series, which was recommended to me by Kate, a former friend. So my favorite books in this series are By the Book, which is a modern retelling of Beauty and the Beast, by Jasmine Gilroy, and Tangled Up in You by Christina Lauren, which is the recent addition to the series, which is focused on Rapunzel, Tangled. And in Tangled Up in You, Rapunzel is in college and she's in school to study fashion design, and she falls in love with Fitz, who is the modernized version of Flynn Rider, who's like a bad boy character who cuts class all the time. I gave both of these books 5 stars. The next series I wanted to mention is Divergent by Veronica Roth. Divergent, these books came out in 2012. The movie series came out in 2014. I remember seeing the first movie at my friend Julie's house when I used to live in New Hampshire. I heard about the Divergent book series by a video that I watched on Sarah Caroli's channel, where her boyfriend, Chris, picked her TBR, and she gave Divergent 4 stars, and so did I. So thank you, Sarah and Chris, for recommending the Divergent series. My favorite book in Divergent is the 3rd book, Allegiant. And I just love the world building that Veronica Roth has in all her books. All her books are like dystopian. 2 standalone books by her that I have read that I have really liked are Chosen Ones, which is kind of like, think of the Incredibles with the superheroes being underground to kind of hide away their superpowers. Although We don't know where The Incredibles is supposed to be set, like what city it's in, but in this book and in the next book I'm going to talk about, When Among Crows, is set in a dystopian version of Chicago, because I think this author is from Chicago. So One Among Crows is a novella that is based off of a Polish fairy tale that is set in Chicago, a dystopian version of Chicago. And I am reading this as part of, I read One Among Crows as part of my research for fairy tales I'm going to write. I'm reading a bunch of fairy tales and a bunch of folklore books to kind of write my own fairy tale or fable. That is my writing goal for next year, because this year has been mostly consumed by writing a memorial fan fiction that I started writing right after Matthew Perry died, and that has been consuming me because I finished it like 3 weeks after he died, but then I've been continuing to revise it for the past 11 months, and I think right now it's finally finished. So now I can breathe easily and focus on other writing projects. Okay, so, the next book series that I wanted to talk about is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. So, Caraval is set in a fantasy world, and honestly, I saw The Hunchback of Notre Dame recently at Kennebunk High School, and the atmosphere of the Festival of Fools made me think of Caraval. So as I was seeing that scene in the musical, that's what I thought about. So Caraval is about like a mysterious circus-like festival that this girl Scarlett loses her sister to. Like, she gets kidnapped and taken away to the festival, and then she has to save her sister. So I don't want to spoil it in case you want to read the series. Of course, I found out about all of these book series through YouTube videos that I've watched on various booktubers channels, and a lot of these people who are reading these books are like 10 years younger than I am. So they read a lot of YA books, and like YA is really not my genre anymore. So some of the YA books that I have read this year, most of them have been hit or miss because I can't relate to any of the characters. Some of them come off as very pretentious and annoying, but some of them come off as really kind and caring, like West, for example, and Better Than Movies, Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. I will talk about that in another video. As far as Caraval goes, my favorite book in that trilogy is Legendary. The next series I want to mention today is called Entangled with Fae. This is another series of Disney princess retelling books that I got into thanks to Sarah Caroli and Destiny Sidwell. And the Disney princess retellings that I have enjoyed in this series are A Taste of Poison, which, let me just say, Snow White is probably one of my least favorite Disney movies because I just think the plot is so boring. And also, Snow White is supposed to be like 14 years old, and the prince is supposed to be in his 20s. So I think their age gap is very disgusting. So I really liked A Taste of Poison from Entangled with Fae because it made the plot line of Snow White more digestible and a lot more interesting because, as I just said, I think that Snow White is one of the most boring Disney movies that there is. And then my other favorite book in this series is Kiss of the Selkie, which is a retelling of The Little Mermaid, which is my favorite Disney movie. The next series I wanted to talk about is J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter. So, I love Harry Potter. I grew up with it. I prefer it much better to Twilight because Twilight is very problematic. Like, when I was younger, I didn't think it was very problematic, but looking back on it and rereading the first book now, knowing what I know about age gap romances or other things that can be wrong about relationships. First of all, Edward Cullen is a stalker, and he's really gross, and I don't like him. And I always preferred Jacob anyway, but realize as an adult and realizing that Bella and Jacob's relationship is Bella and Edward's relationship is very problematic is what turns me off towards wanting to reread the series. Stephenie Meyer's recent addition to this series, Midnight Sun, is the Twilight books from Edward's perspective. And I mean, it paints a better picture of him. It makes you like him a little bit more than you may have liked him when you read the original series, but I still like Jacob. Now back to Harry Potter. As I was saying, so Harry Potter came out in the first Harry Potter book came out in 1998. I was in 7th grade. So by the time I got into high school, we were really deep into Harry Potter mania, and me and a couple of my friends had an unsanctioned club after school where we just hung out, ate snacks, and talked about Harry Potter. It was just like the four of us, me, my friend Samantha, my friend Kim, there were 5 of us. Me, my friend Samantha, my friend Rachel, my friend Jen, and my friend Kim. So despite all of the issues that have come about recently with J.K. Rowling being transphobic, I still really love Harry Potter. I get easily immersed and lost in a world of Hogwarts, and Hermione has always been my favorite character, and she is a Virgo like me, and so is the mean teacher Dolores Umbridge. My favorite books in the Harry Potter series are Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is the play script from the play that is on Broadway at the moment. So I have, at the time I'm filming this video, I have not completed my reread of Harry Potter. I have 2 more books left. By the time this video is released at the end of next month, I hope to hopefully be completed with my reread. So we will see how that progress goes, because right now I am in the middle of completing various different TBRs. Harry Potter is, of course, part of this one of the TBRs I'm completing, but I just don't know when I'm going to get to these last 2 books yet, because they're very, very long, and I'm reading a lot of other books at the moment. So stay tuned for my thoughts on the last 2 Harry Potter books and how I would rank them. The next series that I wanted to talk about is Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. This is another series that I credit Sarah Caroli for introducing me to. So this is a series that is it's a romance series that's centered around the Princes of Hell. So, there's the Kingdom of Wrath, there's the Prince of Wrath, the Prince of Greed, the Prince of Gluttony, the Prince of Pride, and then I forget what the other three princes are. My favorite characters in this series are Amelia and Wrath, and my favorite book is Kingdom of the Feared, which is the 3rd book. Oh, and going back for a second to Bright Falls by Ashley Herring Blake. I just wanted to mention that I really love Ruby's character. She is Delilah Green's stepdaughter, and she is just witty, and she has such a great sense of humor, which is very similar in nature to Waylay from the Knock 'Em Out series by Lucy Score, which is the next series that I wanted to talk about. This is a modern day contemporary romance series that's set in a town, and I think it's Virginia, and the three couples in these books are Knox and Naomi, Nash and Lena, and Sloane and Lucian. My favorite couple in this series is Knox and Naomi. I like all of the female characters in these books by Lucy Score. My least favorite male protagonist for the romantic couples is Lucian, because I think he's a jerk, and that Sloane can do a lot better than him. But not to spoil the ending of the last book, but they end up working things out. And I really love the bonus epilogue at the end of Things We Hide from the Light, because it's set like 10 years later at Christmas time, and all of the families are together celebrating Christmas, and Waylay has kids, and I just love seeing her have a family, and I want Lucy Score to write a book that just focuses on Waylay raising her family, because that would be awesome to see. The next series I wanted to talk about is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. The couple in this series is named Evangeline and Jax, and I love the dynamic between them. I started this series in January. I just finished it on Friday. And let me just say, the cliffhanger at the end of The Ballad of Never After kept me latched in and really excited for A Curse for True Love. But I was very disappointed, and because I was really hoping for a different outcome for these characters. But there's a love triangle that kind of messes things up. Like, I wanted nobody else to get in the way of Evangeline and Jax, but somebody else does, and that's all I'm going to say. Read it for yourselves. I don't provide spoilers. The next trilogy series I want to talk about is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. So, this book is a 3-part trilogy. The first book is called Part of Your World, which is I gave that book 3.5 stars. I mean, I love all of the couples in these books, but, like, the only thing that kept Part of Your World interesting was the fact that there were so many Disney movie references. Like, first of all, the title is called Part of Your World, and that's a song from The Little Mermaid. And then Alexis, the main female character in this book, she is a mixture of Belle and Ariel. It's so obvious. I don't know how many other people caught that. The second book in the series is my favorite. It's called Yours Truly. It focuses on Bree and Jacob. So all of the characters in these books are nurses, and Bree is up for a promotion at her job, and then Jacob, he's the new doctor at the hospital where Bree works. And he basically saunters in and applies for the position that Bree is getting promoted to get, which causes tension between them. And what progresses from there is the relationship buildup between Bree and Jacob, which is described through letters that Bree and Jacob exchange together. It's just so cute. And as other booktubers have said that have reviewed this book, like Destiny and Rachel and Carrie Can Read, they have all said that the thing that they like the best about this book is Jacob and how his anxiety is so relatable. And I totally agree with them because I have anxiety too. And I saw a lot of myself in Jacob's character and how he manages his anxiety. So I wanted to thank Abby Jimenez for writing such a relatable character. I don't think she's going to see this video, but I hope she does. The third book in this series came out in April. It's called Just for the Summer, and it focuses on Justin, who is the best friend of Bree's brother from Yours Truly, who has the kidney problem, and Emma. So, I really like the relationship between Justin and Emma, because they meet on an online forum and they kind of build a relationship on like a post about being cursed in relationships and like being in a relationship where they break up with somebody and then the person who they date immediately after them kind of like, you know, gets married and goes off. So both of these characters deal with trauma. Like Emma, the female main character, is a traveling nurse, and she has a mother who is abusive and also very absent from her life, and she barely ever sees her. And then Justin, these characters are all in their like late teens, early 20s, and Justin's mom like walks out on the family and leaves Justin with the care of his younger siblings who are all under the age of 10, and like the dynamic between them is really sweet. And like I really want Justin and Emma to get together so that way Emma can help Justin with taking care of his siblings. So another reason why I hope Abby Jimenez sees this video. Oh, and we made the recipe from Part of Your World. They had a recipe in the back of the book for crepes, and we had that for breakfast like back in June or July, and we gave it 8.5 out of 10. The next series I wanted to talk about is called Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco, and this is like a bunch of historical dark academia books that focus on a girl who goes into training so this is set in like Regency London times, like Bridgerton, only it focuses on the main female character. Her name is Audrey, and she doesn't want to be part of the high society thing. She doesn't want to do all the debutante balls and everything. She's more interested in learning how to do autopsies. So she goes to work for her uncle who works at a funeral parlor, and she then gets involved. So the first book is called Stalking Jack the Ripper, and she gets involved in stalking and finding out like the mystery of the Jack the Ripper murders. The second book, which is the book in the series that is my favorite, is called Hunting Prince Dracula. And it's about vampires and Dracula. And I just love the atmosphere of this book. And especially inside of Dracula's castle. I just loved the setting of that book. And then I just love the romantic relationship build-up between Thomas and Audrey, And I hope that Carrie Maniscalco writes a book about them as a married couple and seeing what kind of adventures their family goes on, if they continue in the business of solving these historical mysteries, because that would be fun to see. The next trilogy I wanted to talk about is The Friend Zone, which is another trilogy by Abby Jimenez. Let me just say this. I prefer the Part of Your World trilogy over the Friend Zone trilogy, because at least when it comes to the book The Friend Zone, the couples in all three of the Part of Your World books are much more likable than the couple in the Friend Zone. I hated the Friend Zone because the guy is an asshole and he's too focused on wanting to have a big family, and the girl is infertile and she can't have kids, and that is off. Like, he just treats her awful, and I hated it. In the Happy Ever After playlist, which is the second book, this girl Sloane, she's driving down the road and this strange dog jumps into her car, and she has trouble tracking down the owner, and she realizes that the owner is like a musician, and the reason why he can't get a hold of him about his dog is because he's touring to promote his new CD. So I especially loved the couple in this book. I can't remember the guy's name. I think it's Jason. But their relationship buildup is so sweet. And of course, the dog is really cute. I think there are dogs in every single book that Abby Jimenez has written. I'm pretty sure there are dogs in every single book. The last book in this trilogy is called Life's Too Short. And I mean, so if you guys have read The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks, Life's Too Short has a similar storyline to it, where the female protagonist has a chronic illness, and like, as you know, in A Walk to Remember, Jamie dies of her cancer, but you actually don't really know. The ending is left overly ambiguous, so you don't know when she actually dies, and if her and I don't remember the guy's name. But anyway, the couple in Life's Too Short is very similar to the couple in A Walk to Remember, because Vanessa, who is our female protagonist, is a social media influencer who has ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease, and she meets a guy named Adrian, and they fall in love, and as a twist, Vanessa's older sister has substance use disorder, and Vanessa ends up getting custody of her 1-year-old niece, Gracie, because her older sister is in and out of rehab. So it's really left open to interpretation if Vanessa lives or dies and survives her ALS, but I like to be hopeful that she does, and she ends up living a life with her family, kind of like Jamie and what's his name again? I am so horrible at this. Here we go. Landon. That was his name. So, yeah. So, the couple in Life's Too Short really reminds me of Landon and Jamie from A Walk to Remember, just because of the whole plot line with the terminal disease. Jamie has cancer, and as I was just saying, Vanessa in Life's Too Short has ALS. And Matt and I also made the recipe for the chicken and rice soup that's in the back of Life's Too Short, and we gave that an 8.5 out of 10. The next series that I wanted to talk about, Regency Fairy Tales by Olivia Atwater. This is a series with half a soul. My favorite, so these are like modern interpretations of Disney fairy tales that are set in Regency era England. Like, think of fairy tales mixed with Bridgerton or Pride and Prejudice. And then you have this series. My favorite book is called Long Shadow, because it's basically a retelling of Cinderella. The next trilogy I wanted to talk about is Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. And this series is focused on characters who, my favorite book in the series, called Shipwrecked, is set around like a TV show that is similar to Game of Thrones that is being filmed. And I really love the couple in this book in a relationship buildup. But the thing that I hate is that the guy character in this book writes self-insert fan fiction about his character on his TV show, and basically writes self-insert fan fiction about his relationship with the main female character in this book, which is so weird and creepy, and that just really turned me off. But other than that, I really like the relationship between the two characters in this series. And the final two series / trilogies I wanted to talk about are by Marissa Meyer. The first one is called The Lunar Chronicles. This series lives up to the hype that Destiny and Sarah and Rachel and Haley all gave it. It is a dystopian retelling of Disney princess movies and fairy tales. The first book is based on Cinderella. The second book is based on Little Red Riding Hood. The third book is based on Rapunzel, and the fourth book is based on Snow White. And in the first book, Cinderella is a cyborg. And there's a lot of interesting topics that come about in this book. So there is a pandemic, sort of, that's similar to COVID-19 in this book. This series came out in 2012, which was way before COVID-19. Did this series predict COVID-19? I don't know. I feel like it could have. So there is a ethical issue that comes up where Cinder gives the vaccination to her sister before anybody else gets it. And the reason why this could be considered unethical is if this pandemic is similar to COVID-19 and her family was not immunocompromised or whatever, then it could be unethical that Cinder gave the antidote or the vaccine to her family first before people that were in need of it first got it. But it was really left open to interpretation if Cinder's family was immunocompromised or not. I had a hard time distinguishing that. So that was really hard for me to tell. So my favorite book in this series is Cress, which is the retelling of Rapunzel. And instead of being trapped in a tower, she's on a space station in outer space. And Little Red Riding Hood and Cinderella have to go rescue her. The final series/trilogy I wanted to talk about is Renegades. This series is also by Marissa Meyer. And for those of you who like the Marvel superhero movies, I can highly recommend this trilogy to you. It's engaging. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. My favorite character is the female protagonist, Nova, because I just love how her mind works and how she gets to solving all the crimes that are around her. And if I could have any superpower that any of these superheroes have, it would be invisibility. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Week. I don't know.